Hello, this is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates in Carmel, Indiana. I'm going to be speaking with you today in the video 7 Dangerous Threats to Workable Marriages. You notice I didn't say happy marriages. I think a long term truly healthy, truly happy marriage is a very rare thing indeed. What I try to teach my clients is a more realistic goal is seeking out a lifestyle and a relationship that is workable. So here are 7 dangerous threats to workable marriages. When a new couple comes in, about half of them, I'll ask them, "Hey, Joe, Mary, you emailed me, you called me with some issues. Can you tell me more?" Invariably, they'll begin to talk about communication. We just can't communicate. I think it's bad communication. And I don't roll my eyes and sigh on the outside. I just met them. I don't want to offend them. But on the inside, I assure you, I'm sighing very deeply and rolling my eyes like only a teenager can. I had a teenage gal in the other day who set the all-time eye-rolling record as far as anybody. I mean, she looked like she was having a seizure. She was rolling her eyes so much. Communication gets blamed for a lot of stuff that it has nothing to do with. It's like somebody blaming their financial problems on the economy during prosperous economic times. And what that does is it sort of sets up this global catch-all phrase, and it keeps people, say, financially, from taking responsibility to their contributions to whether or not they're doing well in this economy. Because there are a lot of people that do well in good economies, bad economies, middle of the road economies. They're doing some things different than the folks who always are blaming their issues outside themselves. Psychologist Kelly Flanagan, a blogger and a clinical psychologist, wrote, "I feel bad for marital communication because it gets blamed for everything. For generations and survey after survey, couples have rated marital communications as the number one problem in marriage. It's not. Marital communication is getting a bad rap. It's like the kid who fights back on the playground. The playground supervisors hear a commotion and they turn their heads just in time to see the retaliation of the kid being bullied. He didn't create the problem, he was reacting to the problem. But he's the one who gets caught, so he's sent off to the principal's office. Or, in the case of marital communications, sent to the therapist office, a fate worse than death. I feel bad for marital communications because everyone gangs up on him, when the truth is, on the playground of marriage, he's just reacting to one of the other troublemakers and bullies who actually started the fight." I thought that was a good quote, Kelly Flanagan. And I agree with him, from my perspective, there are 7 very dangerous troublemakers that are at the root causes that create communication problems. The communication problems are more symptoms. It's not the cause. That's a very bland, very nondescript discussion of what somebody's marital problem is if they just say communication. So, of course, the number one most dangerous troublemaker, bully, threat to a workable marriage is victim mentality, my favorite subject. I can't say this any stronger, but by far the number one cause of marital destruction and divorce is victim mentality. It only takes one partner to start believing that they have been victimized by their spouse for a marriage to be rendered completely unworkable. And all the communication training in the world won't fix a marriage that's hamstrung by victim thinking. I don't care what awful things your spouse has done to you. Please trust me when I tell you that you recruited them specifically to do exactly to you what they've done. I'm going to read that again. I liked that sentence. I don't care what awful things your spouse has done to you. Trust me when I tell you that you specifically recruited them to do exactly to you what they've done. That is true. Your problem isn't your sucky spouse. Your problem is your sucky childhood. That's the problem. It's bigger than that. Your problem is way bigger than the sins and the failings of your spouse. Romantic love is a reenactment of how you were loved as a child, unfortunately. If your dad was a rager, you'll either become a rager or you'll marry one, or both. If your mother abandoned you, you'll marry someone who ultimately will abandon you every single time. It's an immutable law of nature. Your spouse is just the messenger of truth about who you are. Don't kill the messenger. Don't blame the messenger. They deliver to you exactly the type of love that you got growing up and exactly the type of love you sought them out to provide for you. It's all fair and it's all good. You can learn a lot more about this concept of victim mentality on YouTube. We have some playlists that I'm going to call attention to. When you're on our YouTube channel, just to the left, we've got about 10 playlists, 10 or 11. And one of them is called Uprooting Victim Mentality. And there must be, 15, 20 videos in there. And check the playlist out and learn more about victim mentality. The second big bully on the playground of marital issues that causes a threat to marriage is shame. Shame's a gremlin. I picture shame as a gremlin, and I was going to put like a gremlin from the movie, Stephen King's movie, on the blog, but it just was too creepy. I couldn't do it. Talk about a gremlin that will utterly destroy communication. Shame will get you speaking in what seems like completely different languages to each other. He's speaking French, she's speaking German, and nobody's listening. Shame is mega defensiveness. It's hearing 10 tons of criticism when only a half ton of criticism was actually shared. Shame-based couples don't listen to each other. They interrupt. They talk over. They tune out. They're busy preparing their rebuttals. They make faces. They roll their eyes. And they generally act pretty immature during their therapy sessions. And they can be quite irritating to the therapist because they're treating each other with a great deal of disrespect. And it's painful to watch that, frankly. To learn more about shame and how shame affects marital communication, we have a playlist called Healing Toxic Shame. It's Family Tree Counseling on YouTube, playlist Healing Toxic Shame. Couples come in and they're just reacting to everything the other person says, and they're not listening. And that's the problem. You can take all the communication classes. You can become a professor of communication. You got shame, you're not going to communicate well in your marriage. The third big bully on the block, on the playground of marital issues, is abandonment issues, of course. Abandonment is the King Kong of marital miscommunications. Abandonment issues are rocket fuel for crazy, mean, reactive, ugly, irrational, jealous, childish marital battles. Abandonment issues impact relationships when it is perceived that your partner has stepped back this far from you, okay? But they really only stepped back this far. But it feels like this, and then you react like this, and it gets ugly. It gets out of control. So it's perceived your partner has stepped back from you, even if they actually haven't stepped back, and even if it's only a few inches, and even if it's healthy for them to actually do so. They're doing something healthy for themselves. And it results in brutal, out of control, nuclear overreactions. And you guessed it, we have a playlist on abandonment issues that's really good and probably has, 25 videos in it. Okay, so those are the obvious ones. But there's a few that are less obvious. And the fourth issue that causes, it's not really a bully on the marital playground, but it is a threat, and that's overconfidence. If you think that your doo-doo don't stink, you're in trouble. If you think that your marriage cannot possibly go down, you're overconfident. If you think your marriage is unsinkable, then you're potentially putting yourself in danger. The mighty Titanic was sunk due to arrogance and overconfidence. The captain of the Titanic, one of the Smith brothers, thought it was unsinkable. Anybody's marriage can go bad. If you stop working on your marriage, take it for granted, stop making it a priority, and stop zealously protecting it, then your marriage can sink even like the mighty Titanic. I'm not going to refer you to a video playlist, but to a book here. There's a book called His Needs, Her Needs, and the undertitle is How You Can Prevent an Affair Happening in Your Marriage. And the book is all about investing in the marriage, invest, and protect. What I like about it is it says, we don't have the perfect marriage. We're not perfect people. And if we aren't getting our needs met in the marriage, we don't want to take the risk that one of us will do something really unhealthy and damaging that might end our marriage. So the book is His Needs, Her Needs. The author is named Harley. And it'll teach you how not to be overconfident and not take each other for granted. The fifth bully on the playground is called triangling. And it's when two people have painful conflict. It's human nature for one of them or both to attempt to drag reinforcements into the fray. You know, if you're losing a fight, go get your big brother. Um, Triangling occurs when person A is venting their spleen to persons X, Y, and Z. Anybody will listen about what a stinker person B is. Well, my husband does this and my wife does that. That's not right. That's not fair. It's most common to triangle to your friends and family because they're biased. They're on your side. They'll just shake their heads in agreement and agree with anything you say. Even though they're getting pretty tired of you flapping your gums at them, it feels like you're throwing up on them and they want you to stop. They feel held hostage. It does feel good to get things off your chest, but you'd be better served to use your anger to resolve your issues with your spouse. Even when well-meaning third parties like pastors or Christian friends or counselors align with one's spouse in a sincere effort to offer support, dangerous triangles can develop that can ultimately lead to divorce. I've seen that where the church and the pastor gather around the wronged soul and further alienate them from their spouse and actually contribute to a divorce. Kids are frequently triangled into marital conflicts, and that's so destructive to the child's future relationships. Excuse me. If you grow up locked into an intense triangle, you'll repeat that triangle in your adult relationships. You'll have to have an emotionally charged third person in all your adult relationships, whether it's an affair or work or one of the kids. You can learn more about this dangerous threat of triangling by watching my video, Triangling is Rampant and Self-Destructive. If you go to my blog, and you can get to the blog, it's right on the homepage of familytreecounseling.com, and there's links that you can hit. It'll take you right to these videos and these playlists. Or you can just Google relationship jazz. I'll turn off very high on that Google search. The number 6 threat to marriages is enmeshment with the kids. It is possible to love your kids way too much. And if you put your kids before your marriage for very long, you're headed for trouble. The heart and soul of a family is the marriage. It needs a lot of time. It needs attention in order to remain healthy and viable. It needs time away from the little munchkins in order for it to survive. Couples need date nights, weekends away, romantic vacations without the kids, resources and time to come for therapy sessions, time and resources to go to couples retreats. This is just general maintenance to keep your marriage healthy. If people maintain their houses and their cars the way they maintain their marriages, then the place would be falling down all around you and you'd be parked on the side of the road. When one or both spouses are too enmeshed and too fused with their kids, then marriages just shrivel up and die. And the last danger to your marriage is a lack of empathy for your spouse. One of the main goals I have for every couple that I work with is for both partners to learn how to show their pain vulnerably, to show and express that wounded little kid on the inside. There are sad, wounded little kids at the core of all of us. And when couples learn to stop attacking their partners with their pain, but instead open up and share that wounded little kid's feelings, then an environment is created where empathy and compassion can thrive and flourish. Um, it's really the most beautiful thing that I see as a counselor is when, excuse me, it's when one member of a couple breaks down and really is, they're not throwing rocks, they're just showing their pain. It's very sincere, and you can sense that wounded little kid. And then the other spouse rubs their shoulder, touches their arm, gets them a tissue. Had one lady reach over and wipe off a tear. And it was just beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. If you can start getting that kind of empathy for your spouse, instead of missing the point, they're expressing their pain and their woundedness aggressively. You hear the aggression through your shame and through the filter of your childhood wounds, and then you turn up the intensity and the attack on them, and they attack you back, and it just becomes a nightmare. So those are the 7 dangerous threats to workable marriages. The main thing we try to do is teach you how to get your focus off of the other person and onto yourself. People come to our groups and they're so focused initially on what the other person is doing or not doing, and we teach them about healing themselves and taking responsibility. One fella in group, he calls it just clean up your side of the street. So encourage you guys just to clean up your side of the street. If you haven't joined our YouTube channel, please do so. We're sneaking up on 1,850 subscribers. And a couple days ago, we went over 200,000 views. And we expect to make 250,000 before the 1st of March. So this thing is a snowball turning into a very big snowball rolling downhill. And we hear from people every week, many times, just thankful for how we're touching their lives. And it's a joy to be able to share what we know and reach people. Also visit our website, which is familytreecounseling.com. I have 5 books there that would be of great help to you. One on abandonment issues, one on shame, one on affair recovery, one on counterdependency. So check out our website and you can buy the book there. You can also buy it at Amazon.com. And also be advised that most of our staff members, including myself, we work with people from all over the world on Skype. If you've got good Wi-Fi and any kind of modern device, whether it be a laptop, a computer, an iPad, or even a cell phone, you can have a high quality therapy session. And we're open to doing that, and we love to do that. So thank you for watching the video today, and God bless.